Hey guys, how are we? Well, I don't know if you can see that motorbike sitting over there. We had another accident across the road this morning, and it's just a real shame. That's probably about the fifth accident on that corner in the last 6 months. We've had, one sort of month where there was just maybe 2 in 2 days or something like that, and it's been a bit quiet for the last 2 or 3 months. But this morning was a couple on a motorbike, a little like a moped. They're quite popular over here because they're cheap and easy to park. It's hard to find parking here in the heart of Athens, so mopeds are quite sort of popular. The real shame is that the young lass on the back of the motorbike hit her head pretty bad, and there's a bit of a pool of blood over there, and the young guy driving sort of hit his leg on the planter box. But if people would wear their helmets, you wouldn't see such bad sort of damage to people's heads. And it, unfortunately, it's pretty common over here. You'll see a lot of people with, like major injuries to their heads, and it's purely because they haven't worn a helmet. So it doesn't matter if you're in Greece or Southeast Asia or wherever you are, wear a bloody helmet. And it's a little bit inconvenient, a little bit difficult sometimes, particularly in quite humid climates, but wear a helmet, try and wear safety gear, and just try and be safe, because those sort of injuries can be easily avoided. The biggest problem is that once you hit your head and you do damage to the brain, it really does affect your life. And we just walked past the supermarket that we normally shop at. For the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a guy who's he sort of begs out the front of the store, and he unfortunately passed away this winter. There's been a lot of people pass away this winter. But, I used to have a chat to him, and he had to beg because he's disabled, got drunk one night and rode his moped, suffered quite severe brain injury and lost a leg. And so drinking and driving doesn't pay, and not wearing your helmet doesn't pay. It's, as I said, it's a bit of a shame. So, look, interesting times. Just got a few messages through from friends today, and they're all sort of pointing out what's happening in Shanghai in China. And there's riots and a lot of civil unrest over there at the moment. I remember doing a presentation probably in 2012, 2013, basically saying that if China doesn't suffer sort of civil unrest, it would be the major superpower for the 21st century. But the big problem with China is that it's been brought together by force. And history will tell you that China's been brought together by force a few times. And every time has sort of ripped itself apart at the seams. And now what we're seeing is, the middle class in Shanghai being locked up for 2 months, and they're getting desperate to get out, get food. They're concerned about loved ones and, grandparents and their welfare and all that sort of stuff. So massive civil unrest over there, and it could actually trigger a massive civil uprising, which threatens the very stability of China. And look, it would not surprise me. There's a few issues there with China, and You know, I don't know if you know much about it, but there's 57 different people groups in China. Most of them speak their own dialect or have different forms of the dialect. And you have a lot of people in the West that are on subsistence living, and a lot of people in the East are sort of middle class or well-to-do. So there's a big disparity over there. A lot of restrictions and a lot of it's just different culture altogether. So just watch this space with China, because one of the big concerns that I have with that is that China will actually try and start a conflict with Taiwan to shore up internal stability. And that's one of the things we identified 10, 12 years ago. We knew that was going to be probably one of the big things to look for. So yeah, that could erupt in a regional conflict, and yeah, it's not a good situation. So just keep an eye on that. Watch Taiwan at the moment. Watch the amount of planes, you know, sort of trespassing into Taiwanese airspace, and conflicts with freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. Just keep an eye on that sort of stuff, because that is what we're really looking at the moment. Once this heats up in Shanghai and the rest of China in regards to civil unrest, watch this space. The other thing that's of interest at the moment is, you know, there's more sanctions on Russia, and the West is sort of patting itself on the back and, you know, being tough on Russia. The problem is that if you understand economics and finance, it's not hurting Russia so much, it's more hurting the US. And that's one of the big issues that you want to be keeping an eye on, is the appreciation of the ruble against the US dollar. And that's what we're watching at the moment, is that the Russians are continuing to sell their oil and gas because the West needs their oil and gas, and the Russians are quite happy to trade by bypassing the US dollar. That has major ramifications because of the petrodollar and the way that things have been set up. From the Bretton Woods Summit in, I think it's 1945, you saw the US garnish the global trade currency status, or reserve currency status, and that's really what we're looking at the moment, is the decline of that particular status. That means the US is not going to be able to just keep printing money hand over fist and the rest of the world consume their debt. That means that the US currency is going to take flight back into the US, which is going to put further pressure on inflation. This challenges the global balance of power, and this would be my assumption on things, is that we're in the process of seeing a unipolar world, or a singular polar world, or a single superpower like the US, which basically has economic and financial control over the rest of the world. We're going to see that turn into a multipolar world, and not only economically and currency-wise, but also geopolitically. And China, Russia, India, Brazil, and some of the South American countries, a lot of countries actually, are starting to side with China and Russia. And when you look at the proportion of global population, that is most of the global population. So we're in really interesting times, and typically what happens when your economy like this fails, what they try and do is have a bit of a conflict it shores up spending and basically solidifies internal sentiment within the countries, and basically it distracts people from the issues that they're facing domestically. So just watch this space. I certainly would suggest that if you're not aware of what's happening there, keep an eye on it, because it's going to affect us. So yeah, just be very mindful of that. Now, how does that going to affect us that are sort of digital nomads and perpetual travelers and that sort of stuff? It means that it may be more difficult to cross borders. So as I said in one of my recent posts on overseasexiles.com, is that the time frame to move, if you haven't made a move already and you're intending to do that, that window of opportunity may be coming to a close. So you want to be onto that sooner rather than later. Keep an eye on that. Also make sure that you're utilizing different services like Wise with different bank accounts. You can see the link below. Click on that and set up a bank account. And you can also use different cryptocurrency exchanges, buy cryptocurrency. What I'm basically saying is diversify your assets, and particularly in times of inflation, particularly holding the US currency could really cause problems for you at this point in time. So gold and silver is going to be the one to watch. Though gold and silver, you can't put all your money in gold and silver purely because it doesn't have any return on investment. It's very difficult to transfer around, and you certainly wouldn't want to have gold stocks or anything in paper. You want to take physical possession of your stuff. So just keep an eye on all this sort of stuff. If you're planning on moving, then I would suggest that you do that. And if you do move, just be aware that it may not be a permanent thing. Geopolitical upheavals may occur and you may have to relocate to another location. But one of the things that I would be saying is that I'm expecting things in the US to get particularly difficult. So watch the immigration into Mexico and South America. You're going to see an absolute stampede from North America into South America and into Southeast Asia. And I think you'll see a lot of people leave Europe as well. So yes, even with this stuff with Russia at the moment, I'm predicting that this is going to be a regional conflict. I did see a couple of ex-CIA operatives basically saying that their estimations are that if Vladimir Putin is not given a ability to save face and pull out of this conflict without losing face, then you could see a nuclear conflict. I did see the ex-finance minister for Greece, who used to lecture in Australia, Yanis Varoufakis or something. He calls it the Golden Bridge, and he's basically saying, look, unless the West gives an opportunity for Vladimir Putin to save face and back out, then you're going to see a major conflict. And what's even more dangerous is the decline of the US President Biden and the little warmongers over there in Washington who are talking about regime change and getting rid of Vladimir Putin. And whether you like the guy or not, it's beside the point. It's certainly not our country, so I think he enjoys about an 80% approval rating. So I think at the end of the day, we've got to be very cautious about what we're sort of espousing. And unfortunately, the West is pushing some ideas around that really don't need to be pushed around at the moment. So just watch that rhetoric in regards to regime change in Russia, and the stronger they push that narrative, I think the more dangerous things are going to be. They're also talking about Vladimir Putin, being isolated, and I just don't agree with that at all. I think there's a lot of things, a lot of narratives that are being pushed at the moment that are a little bit fanciful, and anyway, I don't particularly care. It's how it affects us on a perpetual traveller, digital nomad a way of life. You know, we want to be safe and we want to enjoy free and open, transit, and that puts everything at risk. And then you look at the economic woes that the West is facing, and it's not great. So just be mindful of that at this point in time. Certainly don't want to talk forever on all this stuff, but just be mindful of that. I think we have a short window of opportunity to relocate if that's what you're wanting to do. We're going to leave Europe, and I think we're in Southeast Europe at the moment, and we're going to head to Southeast Asia and just have a look there and just see how we travel. So anyway, guys, going to leave that there. That's just my ideas on where things are at the moment, and hope that helps you. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, do so, and go to Overseas Exiles Facebook group and join the discussion there. There's a whole heap of guys over there posting things at the moment. So we're just waiting at the moment to relocate, waiting for the notaries to come back online here in Greece so we can finish our contract for the sale of the property, and then we'll be out of here. So anyway, guys, hope you're well, and we'll chat with you soon.